secret. Look at the lunch. Just over the trees, you see that red roof? That is the Alabama. In the 1920s, a luxury hotel. They changed things up a bit in the 70s. Now it's luxury condominiums, 22 units in the building, and the grounds and the condos look every bit as elegant as they would have back in the roaring 20s. This is a private home called Villa Toscana. It has a boathouse you could live above. That's a little apartment up there on the right. To the left is the outdoor kitchen. They call it the casita. It is not the one from the movie Encanto. I'm sorry, the floors do not dance here. But if you're looking for the dream house, I say we go big. How about this place 3 doors down? You have the main house in the middle with the pillars, 2-story guest cottage left, pool and pool house right, smack dab in the middle is a tennis court. But at the end of the day, why not sit back in one of those 2 Adirondack chairs, dripping the proper beverage, and then watching a glorious sunset. That takes an invitation, of course, and so far, sadly, nada. Yeah, so let's just drink it in and move on, because this might be as close as any of us is likely to get. A little bumpy here. Nothing we can't handle. That's the air conditioner. You don't like? It's okay. This place up ahead was built in 1928. It was an engineer who did it. He had just come back home from a trip to Italy, and apparently fell in love over there with Venice, the floating city. He came back and built this thing right in the water, Venice style. No backyard for him. But the kids started jumping off that 2nd-story porch on the end like it was a diving platform. Time out for them, time for a backyard. This little bridge is the only land access to this, arguably Winter Park's most exclusive neighborhood. This is the Isle of Sicily, La Isla de Siciliano. It wasn't always this pretty and it wasn't always this posh. The secret here is that went up in the height of the Great Depression. No, I'm sorry, I got that a little bit skewed. The Depression was the reason it was late to build it. A couple of developers had an idea in the 1920s to dredge the lake, take that sand and pile it up there and build a nice strong island to develop. And then they wanted to sell property to wealthy individuals so they could build estate homes. Well, they did run into the Depression. They couldn't sell anything for 7 years, but finally it clicked. Now there are 11 beautiful homes on the Isle of Sicily. And it's just 12 acres, so everybody gets a little bit more than an acre. And just offshore, that is our Christmas tree, our Bol de Navidad. We don't own it, but we decorate it every year. Some of last year's ornaments are still hanging on. This is an old estate called 12 Oaks. I've never counted them, but I believe people. Today it's a neighborhood called 12 Oaks. We used to have a lot of citrus around our lakes. We were pretty big into growing oranges, tangerines, that sort of thing. But that ended in 1894 when the city was hit by 2 basically super cold snaps. It got down to 14 degrees. So cold that it killed not just the oranges, it killed the trees. In fact, some of them exploded. What happened was the water in the bark solidified quickly and blew the bark away with a loud noise. That was called the gunfire in the groves. And we never really went back to citrus. Now we stick with growing mansions, and we're pretty good at it.
So I guess these rich people...
This one, straight ahead, hiding in the trees, used to be the largest in town. Forrest Grant built that when he was playing for the Orlando Magic. He also did time with the Bulls, the Lakers, and the Sonics. Big guy, 6'10", custom home. When he sold that place, the new owners had a little work to do. Lowering things, like the light switches, the cabinets, the counters, and the sinks. Next door to the left, another James Gamble Rogers designed home. That's real grass, and the real story is it went up in the height of the Great Depression in the 1930s. The same time frame when those folks on the Isle of Sicily were struggling so to get that going. These folks were sitting pretty high on that hill and building that mansion. I don't think they were depressed for a minute. And here is your last look at Kraft Azalea Garden, but it doesn't have to be. Imagine for a moment somebody in La Familia might be planning a wedding. This would still be a lovely spot in spite of that seating problem. But there's another hurdle. The city has a long-standing limit to the number of guests you can have at your park wedding. The magic number here, including your wedding party, 20. Vente. There go the cousins, los primos, right there. At least on our side of the aisle, gentlemen. Now, ladies, don't take that the wrong way. We love you, and we understand the wedding's a pretty big deal. That's why it's so important for you to make each and every one of those big decisions, and all of the small ones, too, leading up to the big day. At least, that's the way it was explained to me. Here is the floating dock. That is the business end of the Bradley Boathouse. That's where you'll see the crew team getting on their boats for a practice even before their first class in the morning's first light. 1.5 miles to campus, 1.5 miles back, and they've got to run each direction, all part of their conditioning. Those kids are fit. Now back to the canal that brought us here, cypress knees on either side. Look what they've done to this private beach on the right. I mean, how are you supposed to enjoy that? You can't lay out. I don't care how thick your beach blanket might be. You're going to feel those points, no doubt. But on the other hand, if these folks needed a house sitter, sign me up. Remember the Alabama, the luxury hotel that they turned into condominiums? Start looking to the left here through this jungle. Eventually it'll dissipate and you will see the hotel's old driveway. Now imagine that. A driveway so long and so lovely you could eventually develop it and turn it into a neighborhood that looks like this. You may never look at your driveway the same way again. Some people wonder why this canal has so many twists and turns, and there are two conflicting theories. The first, maybe this is just the way the stream ran through here back in the day, so they just boxed it in, washed their hands, and walked away. But you can find old maps of the city that show this as a straight line, or close to it, so that might not be accurate. Here's the other thought. Every time somebody built a boathouse along the way, they would move some water, they would move some dirt, and it would kind of stay that way. That seems to be the more popular of those two theories. Either way, we love the canal just the way it is, with a surprise around each and every bend.
Sure, you're like genius with rubber on the back. These are the hoses.
I'm not sure this is really what happened, but here's my theory about this boat sticking out of the boathouse. Somebody's at a boat show and phones home and says, hey, honey, measure the boathouse. I got a hot deal on a boat. Oh, yeah. That's what I think, but I'm not telling you which part of that couple was at the boat show and which part was wielding the Stanley tape. And it kind of fits, so let's just all be friends,
This
right?
one's selling. This one.
Oh, yeah?
But just the boathouse.
Here's
Oh,
that
wow.
bridge
60,
again.
no,
This
you
is the
said.
Palmer Avenue
60.
Bridge.
$500,000.
So please remember not to reach up or reach out. And if you have anything of value with you today, cell phones, cameras, small children, do keep them in the boat at all times. But here's something for you to do while we're underneath. Take a look at the walls. You will see the high water marks from our summer storms. We're getting into the thick of the summer, as you can feel, but we usually get some relief in the afternoon with a big thunderstorm, usually 2 or 3 o'clock. So the water pours down, the canal fills up a little bit. We can't have tops on these boats. And for that same reason, even though the drivers are expected, even encouraged to make you laugh a little bit along the way, we can't do stand-up. I mean, not with jokes like that, anyway. Thank you. I'll be here all day. We've seen beautiful homes. You might wonder if we have beautiful people, celebrities, living in some of them. And the honest answer would be yes, but not that many, really. I'd say a handful's about right. And the way we handle that is we don't tell you who lives where. That's so you don't show up tonight on somebody's front porch around dinner time with an autograph book. But if somebody famous leaves town, we're on it. And there's a case in point coming up just as soon as we clear the canal. Now please look to the right of the boat. First you'll see the sandy beach, the abandoned kayaks. No, they're just stashed there for the time being. You have the boathouses, and then you'll see the corner of a red brick house with white trim. Here's the secret there. In 1948, a young man came to Rollins, transferring in as a music major, and apparently he had brought along a grand piano. Well, that's not going to fit in any dorm room, so he had a problem. He called Mom and Dad. They lived outside of Pittsburgh. They just decided to help him out and get a house for him down here. This one, with all the ivy. Now, he went on to greatness. He graduated, he became a minister, and then he went into television. Children's television. You know this guy. Fred Rogers. Mr. Rogers. Senior Rogers. That was Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. At least in 1951, when he graduated from Rollins. So what do you think, kids, when he used to sing, "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood"? You think he might have been reminiscing about that place? I wouldn't be surprised. It's still a beautiful neighborhood. And Fred used to visit us here in Winter Park. Before he passed on many years ago, he would be spotted in and around downtown Winter Park. I actually ran into him once and I said, "Hey Fred, welcome to our neighborhood." Apparently he'd heard that one. Nice enough though, nice guy. Casa de Windex. The Windex house. It's a little big for the spray bottle, but I think you get the idea. Anyone from the UK on board? No? Okay. They would call it window lean over there, not Windex. Different product, apparently, same purpose. Here is the current champion when it comes to house size in Winter Park. The brown tile on the roof, the towers, 27,000 square feet. You know the new magic number, right? The number to beat back there, 40,000 plus? Good luck. 3 doors down, the dark gray house with the white chimney and trim, that's where the Capon house would have been sitting 10 years ago in 2 pieces, waiting patiently for the barge to show up or that little dance across the water to its new location next to the museum. And this may be the most Winter Park thing I've ever heard. They actually nicknamed the 2 house pieces Fred and Ginger for that little waltz. Remember the famous dance team of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers? You can't make this stuff up. Remember the guy that got such an amazing deal on double lakefront property back there on Lakes Virginia and Mizell? Mr. $3 an acre? Charles Hosmer Morse ended up owning half of the city, but he lived in a cottage. Well, wait till you see this place. Take a look up that sunny hill, and across the street, way in the distance, sits Osceola Lodge, all 6,300 square feet. That was his cottage. Really? In what world would something that big be considered a cottage? Well, apparently this one, at least early on. Remember, these were wealthy people from up north. Back then, up there, the rule was simple. If it wasn't your main house, it's a cottage. I don't think that plays anymore. We've seen a lot of changes in our 86 years of operation. The first boats left that dock in 1938. We are now the longest continually operating tourist attraction in Florida. And we owe it all to you and everybody else who sat in a seat and listened to somebody tell you the stories, or in my case, the secrets of Winter Park. Again, my name is David. Thanks for riding along. I sure hope you liked the tour. If so, please feel free to let me know. That would be more than kind. On the other hand, if you didn't like it for any reason, I'm very sorry. But perhaps we could all keep that a secret. What do you say? That wouldn't be too bad. Please keep your seats till we dock. I'll get you out of here safely. And when we are tied to that dock, do watch your steps. And safe home, everybody. Thank you and gracias.